I'm delighted to be with Amber Chidakashi. So,
Chidakashi.
um, so look, Amber, you're quite well known to the London property scene, although a lot of your activity is in Liverpool right now.
That's right.
And
Liverpool and Manchester as well. Yes.
we were discussing um, your experience of having interns working for you over the summer months, and just a fascinating experience. First of all, I didn't know you had any interns working with you.
Uh-huh.
4 interns, all from France.
Yes.
So before we go into that and how your experiences with interns, do you want to just elaborate on what you do in property?
Yeah. Well, we used to look for smaller multi-lets in Liverpool in areas where smaller multi-lets work. 3 people, 4 people sharing. However, the HMO market in Liverpool is really changing a lot, and people are demanding different things, and they want different styles, and it's quite a bit of oversupply. So we took a bit of a foot off the accelerator and did a bit of research, and we're finding that smaller multi-lets still work, but the larger ones, larger 7, 8 bedrooms, work better with studios with slightly shared facilities. And also, we've been approached by a developer in Liverpool to help sell their off-plan stuff in the city centre. And I'm quite interested in the city centre of Liverpool, how it's changing. So yeah, so we're quite interested in that.
Can you just elaborate on that? Because I've never been to Liverpool. I've seen it on a map. I know you know, it's fairly close to the dock, most of the
Yeah,
activity.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so most of the cities.
It's really fascinating. I mean, when I went there 2.5, 3 years ago, people were saying that the new regeneration was never going to happen. It was going to take 30 years. And now we're seeing massive amounts of regeneration, slightly going north of the city on the docks that you mentioned. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a new
So,
motorway being built between Bootle and Liverpool. There's tons of stuff going on.
so when you say north, would that be so close to the Tate, the
Yeah, the Tate. So if you go from the Tate Museum and you go north with keeping the river to your left, there's a whole bunch of they're building a revolving theatre in that area, and they're also building phase one of a 4.5 billion pound development, including hotels, retail space, and office space, and obviously accommodation as well. And that's all going ahead as we speak.
so major redevelopment taking place in
That's
Liverpool.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah. And
Uh,
Anfield is more than half done now. The new Anfield Stadium's more or less done. They're going to be building hotels and cafes near there, so that's an interesting place to look at. There's so many micro areas that are doing really, really well, but you've really got to know your stuff street by street. You just can't arrive in Liverpool and invest in property without knowing the roads, to be honest.
so there's quite a disparity even in a small area in Liverpool.
You know what, Bennington, there's a disparity in one street. In one street, one end of the street perfect, the other end of the street you wouldn't touch it.
Wow.
Amazing, yeah, 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 yeah.
So how long's it taken you, or how much time have you spent in Liverpool over the last year or two, or is it a bit longer than that, Amber?
Well, I was up there 3 years ago, but I kept coming back, and I was checking in and out of hotels, and it wasn't really great experience. However, at some point, I acquired a flat post auction which had a sitting tenant, and thankfully he left. So we've now got a permanent base up there, which means that we can feel a bit more relaxed when we're up there. And so I spend a lot more time up there. I'm probably up there 3 weeks out of 4, either in Liverpool or Manchester.
Okay, just to elaborate on Manchester, which I probably don't know as well, or you may not know as well because you don't have a permanent base in Manchester.
No, no.
Um, just in comparison, Liverpool to Manchester, Amber,
Do you know what? If
that's
you
a
said
tricky
to me,
question.
you said to me, take a 3 year view, I would say Manchester. If you told me to take a 20-year view, I would say Liverpool is now where Manchester was 20 years ago. So you're looking at tomorrow's Manchester in a way. There's a lot going on, but you do have to hold your breath for 5 years.
Sure. Look, one of the fascinating discussions we had this morning before we did this interview was with interns. Why?
Yes,
Because it's something I've looked at. I have to admit, I haven't really looked at it seriously, unlike you,
yes.
because you've actually gone to the next step and said, and not just one intern,
4
4 interns.
interns. Yeah, 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 yeah.
For me, there's different reasons why I've not gone for the intern model.
Yeah.
Um, it's not about me, it's about you this morning, Amber. So
Yeah.
what made you go for the intern model?
So really interesting. So I bumped into a wonderful lady called Caroline, who was on an internship with a St. Helens company. And this company had basically lied to them, promising them a load of experience they were never going to deliver on.
Mm.
So in the end, the guy who owns this company just sacked all four of them. In fact, six of them. Just said, "You're all rubbish, get out." And they would have gone back to France without their degree, because in order to
Wow.
validate the degree, they have to have the internship. And in France, they're really strict on this. It isn't, you can't just tick a box. You've got to really go through the whole contract. So she phoned me and approached me. And by that time, I'd already been in touch with her evenings and weekends, giving her some work to do. So we'd already had a working relationship. She said, "Look, we've been fired. Do you want to take me on?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I've got a friend." I said, "Yeah, okay." And then as soon as we took her on, I got two other friends that are interested as well. So there was four of them brought on in the same week.
Amber, one thing which really scares is too strong a word, but puts me off the intern model is amount of red tape, bureaucracy, paperwork. That didn't really put you off, though.
No,
And of course, the language barrier as well. Not
to be
all
fair,
interns have gone.
all of the paperwork was done for me. The contracts were done for me. The outcomes, all of that came from the university. So that problem was solved. So the question of language and so on, I absolutely think that no matter who you are, you've got to go through the experience of having one yourself to know what works and doesn't work. For example, you could talk and say, "Look, can you get on with this?" And they'll say yes. And then 2 days later, you realize they haven't understood what you meant.
Mm.
So there is a huge value up front in meeting people face to face at the beginning of a project until they know what they're doing, but also a huge way of getting them to feed back to you what they think they're doing and ask them to tell you what they think they're doing. And because they're very bright kids, they're very, very bright.
And also, they may be slightly younger than me and you, Amber.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
what I really like, what I learned from, I can't remember the name now, Rennie Carell, I think his
yeah,
surname's. He was,
yeah,
talking probably a decade ago. I heard him speak
right,
when I was just turning 30, and he was
right,
talking about the importance of having someone in your company who's young, in the mid 20s, because they've got a different maybe mindset as well, but certainly
yeah,
different values.
yeah,
Social media.
yeah,
They've grown up with Snapchat or they've
yeah,
grown up
yeah,
with
yeah,
Instagram, whereas myself and you,
yeah,
we've adopted Facebook, I'm sure, first of all, and
yeah,
maybe LinkedIn, and
yeah,
now we've had to be aware whether we use it on a regular basis or not, but awareness of the other platforms.
yes, yeah.
What so I don't want to delay you on Bank Holiday Monday, and huge thanks, Amber, for taking time out on Bank Holiday Monday.
Sure.
But what three lessons could you share to our listeners who are thinking, look, maybe we could go down this route of interns?
Yeah,
Um, what
yeah,
would you do differently, or
yeah.
what worked well?
So my interns were unpaid because they had grants from a European agency that paid for them to come over. They were allowed to
Do you mind? Do you
receive.
mind, Amber? Sorry, elaborating on that a little bit. Do you know which organisation or?
Yeah, so two of them got grants from local authorities where they're in their own council. So they were two of the guys were both from Normandy, and Normandy give grants to interns that apply for them. And two of them had grants through the university itself. So they were grabbing money here, there, and everywhere to put it together. And they ended up getting about 1,000 and something per month to live on. And they had to use some of their own money as well, to be fair.
Sure.
And what I learned was that they're not paying you with their money. You're not paying them with your money. You're paying them with your time.
Oh,
And
that's interesting. That's interesting.
you are paying them with your time. What I would say was, I learned that if you sit down with them and train them on a certain subject on Zoom or face to face, and you give them a job to do that ends up being quite repetitive, and they can do it again and again, they will do a good job. Okay. But if you give them a project to do that requires a lot of free thinking along the way, you'll then break it down into two types of people. There's the type of people that will hit a roadblock and then go on social media and start going through Facebook. And there's a type that will say, look, let's get Amber on the phone. Let's find out how we can push forward. And I found the two guys that really pushed forward a lot were slightly older. One of them was 24. One was 20, to be fair, but the 24-year-old managed the 20-year-old. That was really good. He'd managed 15 people in his previous job.
Wow, so you're really picking up some good experience as well, Amber.
Absolutely.
You're almost selling me on this intern idea.
Yeah. I would
Which
actually say, I think there's a government department now trying to banish or look at unpaid internships. And I think that's really interesting because we're moving into a phase in the world now with robotics, artificial intelligence, where we could be looking at an average of 20% of the people being unemployed because their jobs are being done by robots that don't get paid. Now, I would think in a period of high unemployment, the best thing you want is for people to get trained up very highly in great jobs. And a great thing for companies, no risk thing for companies to do, is to hire interns.
I just want to elaborate, though, Amber, with someone who's managing a team of 15. I don't know if it was his own business beforehand or he was an employee and still managing a team of 15.
That's
you
right.
asked which one was it, Amber? Out of curiosity, do you remember?
So he was which company or which?
No, was he an employee managing 15?
Employee. He was
Employee.
an employee in a supply. His job was supply chain logistics, and he had 15 people, and he had to actually fire all of the 15 people because their jobs got automated.
Wow.
So get rid of them all. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, really good experience here. And what's really
well,
great,
maybe not such a good experience with firing people, but a great experience of having him in your company.
Yeah. And what I think is amazing is once you get it right, once you understand how they like to work, and you've got some. I think even though you're not paying them, you need to have a budget for co-working space, office space, that kind of thing. And a place like Liverpool, you could ask a load of friends and somebody will give you a table and a phone. But in a place like London, you're probably going to have to pay, and you're going to have to find a place. So, and the other thing is, I think that I really sort of learnt was pay them for their traveling expenses. So buy them a bus ticket for a whole month or a train ticket for a whole month. And then that way they're completely independent. They're not looking at their wallets all the time when you ask them to meet you. Okay. The other thing I've learned is give them some recognition. So each of my interns now is going to get a certificate, and it's either going to be a merit, achievement, or outstanding achievement. So merit means they did a great job, and so on. And the outstanding achievement goes to the people that really stepped up. Okay. Now I'm really thinking about the idea of the guy that really stepped up. I want him to carry on with me. So I'm going to offer him a non-executive directorship. So he's going to be a non-exec director. Now that may not translate very well into French, but his tutor told me it sounded good. They wanted to know more about it. And I think it looks really, really good on their CV.
What does it mean, though, Amber, for people listening to this interview, a non-executive directorship, or NED, as people call it? What does it mean in terms of practical terms? Is it going to be Zoom calls on a monthly basis where he's still going to be involved?
So how you process it is up to you, but in the end, you're talking about a set number of hours per month or per year. So typically it might be a day a month or half a day a month, okay? They will have a responsibility. So in Samuel's case, it will be, he'll be responsible for tech and systems, okay? And thirdly, there needs to be a remuneration for the first 2 or 3 non-exec roles. They probably won't get paid anything. And once they get really good and really experienced, they can then start charging 200 a day, 300 a day, 500 a day. And for a public limited company, 2,000 a day.
So Amber, I'd love to hear more about your experience, even in a short presentation about how you work with interns, because it's something which we haven't had at our property event. I've been to morning events which are focused on apprentice and so forth. Apprentices are slightly different to interns. I do understand that. So I still would like to hear more about that, and maybe bringing in someone from possibly Wandsworth Council to my Wandsworth events, because I've got a good relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, thankfully, in that area, which is absolutely great. And that's partly because Wandsworth Chamber is a very proactive chamber.
Right, okay.
So what I want to focus on, Amber, is just to give you back something. You said 2 things. So you've got a video coming out about how to work with interns?
Yes, I'm only going to do that just sort of very quick, so 7 or 8 minutes to say, how I found them, what my experience was, and what I would do differently. Yeah.
Mm. And the second thing is you've got your own event coming up in London. Do you have any details? It's not focused on interns, it's focused on Liverpool as a place to
Yeah,
invest.
so it's Discover the Northwest. So it's a discovery day, which I hope people understand what that means. It's going to be on the 5th or the 12th of October. I'm not sure which one. It actually depends more on hotels and things like that. It's
So
going to be
early
a Thursday
October.
evening. Now, thanks to you, Brendan. Yeah, thanks to you, Brendan. I was going to do it during the day, and you said, well, look, why would a busy professional give up a day? And I think you're absolutely right. They need to come to an evening one first. So I'll probably have the evening one in London, the day one on a Saturday in Liverpool. It's probably the way I'll do it.
So
So yeah, Discover Liverpool. I'm going to be bringing down a guy from a very big development company that are building all stuff. I'm going to bring in a bridging company that will be able to help finance it, and a lettings agent, estate agent, and also building regulations people. So you can kind of like build your own team before you even come up.
okay. So that date is going to be early October.
Early October.
How can people connect with you, Amber? Whether it's about the Discovery Northwest, have I got it right, Northwest?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Or whether it's about how best to work with interns. Um, is it via Facebook the best way to connect with you?
Facebook's a great way because it kind of comes up to me instantly. And the other thing is, obviously, we've got a website, oxygenpropertypartners.com.
Amber,
Oxygen Property Partners.
look,
Yeah.
I'd love to go into more detail about this.
Yeah.
Where are you going to take it now? I know you talked about the NED, non-executive
Yeah.
directorship.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything else in terms of interns going forward?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I learned was that they need job descriptions with objectives and outcomes. So I'm working on one now for marketing, and I'm working for another one on sales. So I'm looking for a marketing and sales person. The two girls that were in my finance department are still going to be working remotely. So I am going to take on a finance person at some point. What I'm going to do is make sure that these internships are 9 months instead of 6 weeks, so that we carry on supporting them until they've really.
But that's a great opportunity, 6 weeks, for people who are thinking, look, you know, we want to dip our toes into it. We don't want to really take a
That's
commitment of 9 months. So,
right. Yeah.
was 6 weeks the minimum amount of time, Amber, or?
Well, I had these guys for 5 or 6 weeks, but their total internship should have been 9 weeks. So I think you're going to get offers of between 6 and 9 weeks.
Okay. Now, just another quick question, and I do have to let you go because it's bank holiday, and I know you're probably going to enjoy the sun somewhere in Liverpool today.
Yeah. No, I'm in
Um,
London actually at the moment.
oh, sorry,
I
London.
arrived in London last night.
Okay. So just another really quick question. Did you find the university easy to work with in terms of the interns? You said they drew up the contracts, which to me is amazing because it saves you going to a law firm, and we both know, particularly in London, you can pay significant amounts of money
Yeah.
to do anything with lawyers.
Yeah.
So have you contacted other universities or just that particular university?
Well, there were 4 different people from 4 different universities.
4 different universities.
Yeah. So they gave me the paperwork from their university, and I just filled it out and signed it and sent it back. So
Wow.
right now, the internships, I've now got to do feedback and references. So they contact you, you go online, you fill out a questionnaire, and then you do it that way. So I didn't approach them; they approached me. But if I was to approach them, I have a bit of a mixed response. Some universities will get straight back to you, and others won't. So it's more difficult to go out and find them than if they come to you, to be honest. I think having a good website really helps because they check you out. And if you've got anything about internships on your website, you will attract people just organically.
Oh, that's a good point. So if you've got something listed about internships.
Absolutely. You will get people speculatively writing to you. Absolutely. And I know a lot of people that have had people approach them on their website.
Okay. Look, Amber, we can go on and on, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak at some point about the joy of working with internships.
Yeah. Okay.
because I've looked at this particular avenue myself. I've not
Yeah.
gone down it, to be
No.
fair, and there's reasons why I've not gone down. Mostly because I think it's too much bureaucracy. One thing, and
Yeah.
also it's the workload. Are you going to create more work than you're actually going to get?
The biggest thing about it is that absolutely. The biggest thing is that you've got 4 hungry mouths to feed. They all want work. You've got to set them up with work. And I'm not kidding, Brendan. Setting up four full-time jobs is a full-time job. It's a full-time job finding them work to do. And that's the biggest commitment you have to make, is to find them work to do.
So, Amber, I just want to say huge thanks for you taking time out this
Okay.
morning. Look, I haven't got a date confirmed for you, but I'm sure it's going to
Yeah.
be very, very soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you to the listeners
Thank
and
you.
to the listeners out there. If you've got an interesting story, because I never expected, and I don't think Amber expected me this morning to be talking about the joys of interns. In fact, we've talked more about interns in Liverpool, so I do apologise. But I think, people are looking to grow their business. You're either growing or you're dying in business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, people are looking at different ways of growing their business, whether it's through finance, whether it's through
Yeah.
raising finance through angels, venture
Yeah.
capitalists, equity
Yeah.
partners, whether it's going through Dragon's Den or whether it's going through a different model.
Yeah.
So I just want to say huge thanks, Amber.
Okay. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.